I'm going to go ahead and hit record. Okay, so whenever you're ready, take one.
Hey, this is Mark with Quiet Light Brokerage, and this is the Vroom, Veer podcast with Jeff Smith. Let's go.
Very well done. I like it. And I'm going to leave a little bit of this outtake stuff in, but you did a good job. That was fun.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom, Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom, Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Deeannah Seymour, thank you so much for being on Vroom, Veer, and welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's great, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. I just sincerely appreciate it.
Hey, I'm happy to have you here, and thank you again for being here. So you are at phdfemininehealth.com, and talk a little bit about what you've got going on at your business today that you're most excited about.
Oh, goodness. We're moving at a frenetic pace here lately, which is wonderful. We will be launching at a major retailer in April. So
cool.
It is just very, very exciting. And it's a period of rapid growth for our company. But the thing I'm most excited about is having this product available to help more and more women who need it and who suffer from vaginal imbalance or vaginal odor. So,
sure.
So I'm super excited.
Yeah, and it's I like the story because, whenever there's like some other product, right, that's out there and everybody's using it, but then there's this better thing.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I'm going to find out.
You will get quite an education today.
This is awesome. It was a little scary, but I said yes. Yay.
Yes, you're being vulnerable. That's good.
There you go. Okay, so let's go back in time and talk about your background. And
okay,
so you worked in the pharmaceutical business with a job, right?
I did for 20 years.
Wow. Okay, talk a little bit about what was that like?
Yeah, I worked for a major pharmaceutical company for 20 years, the same one. It was a wonderful job, truly was. I actually have a degree in biology, so I love science and health. And teaching others about science and health. And it was a fantastic job that provided, really well for me and my family. I ended up going through a divorce about 6 years ago. And so I was a single mother of 2 kids. And I really honestly thought that I would retire from that company because they had a pension plan and wonderful benefits.
Why
and the
wouldn't you?
Car.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I had it all mapped out, just completely in my head, my date of retirement and how it was going to go, because I had always been a top performer with them and just thoroughly really enjoyed my job.
Okay.
But it's interesting because I don't know if you've read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, but it talks about...
I've heard of it. Somebody else has mentioned it, so I have to read it now.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
You do. It's a great, quick read, but it talks about, there's really 4 zones that you exist in. The zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, your zone of excellence, and your zone of genius.
Wow.
And
okay.
I was comfortably operating for years and years in a zone of excellence.
Oh, nice.
And it was comfortable. It was good. But I always just felt inherently that there was something more, like that this was not, that all of my talents and everything weren't being utilized to their fullest extent.
Okay. No, I get
doing
that.
what I was doing.
I feel you.
Yeah. It's like just a feeling in your soul that you have that, God was tugging at my heart, trying to get my attention in some way. And I had a really pivotal experience occurred.
We call those Veers. So this
Yeah, there. This was
is a big
definitely a Veer.
Okay, good.
Yes. Actually, several occurred. I had several Veers, but one in particular was that I ended up donating a kidney to a friend of mine's 4-year-old little boy.
Yeah, how's that happen? How does that even happen? Wow.
Never in a million years would I have told you, thought that I would have been a kidney donor.
Right,
But
right.
it is amazing how you're directed and guided and prepared for things. So to put it all in perspective, before I tell the story, is, I think there's around 5,500 people a year who are living kidney donors.
Okay.
In the U.S. So there's not a lot. And in my job with this pharmaceutical company, I had the entire state of Tennessee, and in Memphis, I worked with a coworker of mine donated a kidney, and also had a customer who became a dear friend in Knoxville who donated a kidney, all within a year of each other. So to know one person who's donated is pretty rare, but to come across two within, 6 months time frame, was kind of unheard of.
Right.
And the fact that I was able to follow both of their journeys and, witness how amazing it was and how they recovered. It was like I was right there with them the whole time. And this friend of mine's son had already had a kidney donor. His dad had donated a kidney 2 years prior to that. And unfortunately, he rejected it.
Oh, wow.
And we had kind of loosely kept in touch. And God had been preparing my heart the entire time while all of this was happening, and I didn't know it. But when I actually saw it on Facebook, someone had posted that he was back on the transplant list. And when I saw that, I knew immediately I was going to be a match. I just knew. I knew.
Wow.
I knew.
Wow.
I was so certain of it.
Wow.
That I canceled running a marathon before I even was a confirmed match, because I just knew that I was going to be the one. And
that's amazing.
Huge Veer for me. I mean, because
right, and it's awesome because it's like you said, it's like we hear about it on TV. You hear about it, and I know there was a guy on American Ninja Warrior, right?
Yeah.
A couple people that were kidney donors, or I think they're kidneys or livers or something.
Yeah.
And you hear about it, you're like, wow, how does that even happen? Right?
Yeah. How do you wake up one day and just decide to do that?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, it would be different if it's like somebody close to you, like,
Right.
my friend is dying. Okay. I should at least go get checked out, see if I'm a match, see if I can help out. But for two people in your life to just randomly pop up and become donors, that kind of like goes to that, like, anytime somebody close to you does a thing, that thing now becomes more real, right?
Right.
It's not just something out there,
Yeah, it's
in
not something
space,
on TV.
right? It's right. It's now real. Somebody, right? So it seems like possible for you to do that.
Yeah, and when you think about the infinitesimal odds of me coming across two people in that short amount of time.
Right. Yes.
It truly is, but it happened for a reason, and I firmly believe everything happens for a reason. So going through that experience completely changed my life forever. And what it did for me was to learn to listen to myself and to this, to God and to what he's trying to teach me, and along with countless other lessons. But it was just really pivotal for me, and putting everything in perspective. Oh my goodness. And to not sweat the small stuff, and so many other amazing lessons. But
right.
It was, it really also caused me to take a step back and evaluate, my entire life and everything that's going on. And it was then I really started to think, I'm something else out there is waiting for me. I just know it. I knew it in my heart and soul.
Okay.
So go back to work after the donor process, and I ended up switching to a different division in my company, and things were going along pretty well. And I all of a sudden was actually, now I look back, I was gifted with a toxic boss. And
Okay.
I
right.
say gifted because I wouldn't be where I am right now had that person not come into my life. And
I get it. Yeah.
because I was so comfortable, and I was going to retire from this company that had provided so well for me.
You were comfy and cozy. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally was.
You were vrooming. That's what we say.
I was vrooming. Yes.
Vrooming.
And, operating in that zone of excellence, going along, vrooming. And here comes this manager that crosses my path, and it was miserable. I, remember after one particular phone call, and I was still a top performer. So, really didn't understand why I was being treated so unfairly. But I remember after one particular phone call, I had to go sit on my garage steps because I didn't want my kids to see me crying because I had to keep it all together. And I was just sitting there thinking, God, why are you allowing this to happen to me? I am working harder than I've ever worked. I'm performing at a top level, and this is happening. And it just occurred to me, like, okay, slow down and listen. What is happening? And it just occurred to me right there, sitting on those stairs, that God was making me uncomfortable for a purpose. Because one thing I failed to mention in all of this was about a year after I donated the kidney, I had an idea for a product. And so I had been on a lot of antibiotic therapy for some sinus issues, and that caused an imbalance, which happens with females.
Right.
And during that time, I started doing research because I wanted a natural alternative to what my doctors were giving me. So I started doing research and found hundreds of studies done on the use of boric acid to treat vaginal issues, but no one was making it commercially.
Okay.
And
so when you say that it was more like a what would you call that? Like a home treatment?
Yeah, it was a natural remedy that physicians were using this, but you could only get it through a compounding pharmacy to have it made, or you could make it at home.
Right.
But the CDC recommended it, so it was studies show that it worked as well or better than traditional.
So basically, there just hadn't been a business person trying to make it into a commercial product yet.
Yeah, no one had thought to do that, and I just was like, why is someone not making this product? I mean, so again, I
bet you found out later.
Oh, I did.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. My daughter's hockey coach at the time owned a holistic nutraceutical manufacturing plant and company.
Okay.
And I mean, what are the odds of that, Jeff?
Right. I know. Okay.
So,
let's go with that then.
Yeah. So
who's writing this story?
Right. Thank you. Yes, it was completely orchestrated by the
truth is always stranger than fiction. So yes.
Yes. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be brave and call up my daughter's hockey coach and have an uncomfortable conversation about how he needs to make a vaginal spot story.
I mean, we all cringe during the Summer's Eve commercials. It's like we all just want to pretend it doesn't exist until we want it to.
Right.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. And so I went to him armed with a pile of studies and said, here's my idea. It's crazy, but I really think that it would take off. And he agreed. He was like, I love it.
Wow.
So he started manufacturing it. He actually put it up on Amazon, and I didn't have anything to do. I just had the idea, and he kind of ran with it. So while I'm plugging away at my pharmaceutical job, that idea became the number one best-selling product on Amazon.
Whoa. Okay.
Just because of reviews, because it worked so well, and these women were evangelical about how it had changed their lives, because a lot of women had suffered for years and years with a vicious cycle of, traditional medications that then just it kept reoccurring. So this was the only thing that worked, and it worked naturally. So
right,
so
and there's probably fewer side effects. Am I right on
yes,
that? Okay.
yes. Because
so there's downsides to the previous sort of remedies, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
So-
and mostly, is it the resistance thing that the antibiotics, the whatever they.
Well, that is a concern with
Any
of course the
antibiotic.
medical
Right.
community,
Mhm.
but with bacterial vaginosis, which is a lot of times the cause of vaginal odor,
Okay.
it's recurrent about 60% of the time. So, and women can have a lot of different things that cause it to occur. It could be imbalance in the vagina caused from your period or intercourse, because
Right.
both blood and semen will elevate the vaginal pH. So this brings it back into check and prevents any odor causing bacteria to grow.
Gotcha.
And it can be used preventatively too, because a lot of women going through menopause will have an imbalance in their vagina due to changes in hormone levels. So a lot of my customers will use it prophylactically,
Right.
to prevent it by using it 2 or 3 times a week. So, yeah, it works naturally. You're not worried about the use of other treatments. So yeah, it took off on Amazon. It became the bestseller, and here I am still plugging away because my job security, I had with my pharmaceutical job, and was just thinking, oh, well, that can be a supplemental income to me, to help me with retirement. And then I had that moment on my stairs where
That's when you had the evil boss that was making you cry. Yes. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So it was in that moment that I realized, okay, I need to listen, and I'm listening, God, and you're making me uncomfortable for a reason. And, I believe that obstacles in life are God's way of getting us to veer,
Right.
to change our course. And that we really need to pay attention when we're going through things like that it may be happening for a reason, if not to make us stronger, then to get us to change our path, our
Change your
course.
course. We need a course correction here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I felt that day on those stairs as I was crying. And then, you know what? I just kind of started chuckling. I'm like, okay, I get it, God. You want me to leave the security of my, my health insurance, my
Right.
company car, all of
Right,
those
right.
wonderful benefits,
Wow, yeah.
and take a leap of faith and go run my company, like go take on PhD and take it to the next level. And it was then that I just really started planning my exit, when would be the best time for that to occur. And I just like the peace that I had when I donated a kidney. It's a peace that you can't understand. I had that same peace in leaving my pharmaceutical job. Even though it was a huge leap of faith, I knew I was doing the right thing. I just knew in my soul. So,
Scary at the same time, probably.
yeah, it was, but I also somehow knew
Kind of
that,
scary in a good way, almost. Because,
yeah,
Right.
that's exactly right, Jeff.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
But I also knew that just like with the kidney donation, that no matter what happened, that it was going to be okay.
Wow.
That whatever the outcome was, that everything was going to be all right.
Yeah, and I've heard this too. And when these opportunities come up, it's often sort of like beneficial to imagine the worst case scenario. Just imagine it. Just imagine it. You know what? Okay, you fall on your face, you lose a bunch of money, and you're broke. Well, guess what? Then you can go get a job again.
Jeff, you nailed it.
Right.
You nailed it, Jeff.
Right.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, the product flops and I have to go get another job.
No big deal.
Yeah, and I'm out some money.
Right.
But
It's at least
okay.
I went for it.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And knowing that I was not operating in my zone of genius, and knowing that I had that just innate calling inside of me for those 20 years, I just felt like there had to be something more. And sitting on those stairs, that's when I'm like, this is it. This is what you were calling me to do. Like, I know for a fact. So I ended up leaving my pharmaceutical job in April of 17 and July of 17. And since then I've taken over a complete operation of PhD Feminine Health, and we've more than doubled sales. And this year we're launching at a major retailer.
Right.
And
wow.
So it's just, I feel like I'm bolted to a rocket ship.
Wow. I like that. That's good.
It is.
It's kind of scary, but it's
scary.
Exciting.
Oh my goodness! And the things that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I mean, because we're a very small company,
right?
That is, now playing in the big leagues, and I've learned everything from, manufacturing aspect to distribution, marketing, and of course sales. I mean, everything from the ground up. I've learned so much in the past year and a half. It's just amazing. So,
right.
It's just, now I feel like I am in the zone of genius, doing exactly what I'm called to do. And yes, it's scary. And oh my goodness, there have been so many lows and so many highs, that I've kind of learned how to try and stay level. Like, I try not to get too excited or too disappointed about everything.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. My business partner, when I first came on board, gave me an article. I think it was written like back in the 80s, but it's still so applicable to anyone who's an entrepreneur. But it talked about the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how you're really on a roller coaster. And it said, he said in this article, you signed up for this roller coaster ride. Your family and friends did not. So don't take them on the ride with you. Like, don't take them down there to the lows with you. But of course, celebrate with all the wins. But, so I've learned how to kind of stay middle of the road and not get, too disappointed or way too excited about anything. But it's definitely, I've learned so much, over the past year and a half. It's been amazing.
So did you learn also, we talked about it a little bit earlier, what were some of the battles that you had to fight through when you came up with this idea and started pushing it around? And I mean, obviously you knew there was a demand because your friend had success on Amazon and that was making you a little bit of money, but taking it to another level, probably you learned a lot.
Oh,
right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have, and when I've made some mistakes, of course, along the way.
Of course.
One in particular that I misspelled a word on the label. I mean, it was done and I proofed it and didn't catch it. And we had like 10,000 units that were sent to Amazon with this error. And that was a really big low for me, because I felt that was being used to attack me. You know, it's that your inner roommate, the voice in your head that sometimes can get out of control. Yes.
That's the best.
That person that lives in your head with you, you know.
The snotty one, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
I've got a whole troop, it seems like, in my head.
oh, my
Right.
goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, good book for some of your listeners too is Untethered Soul. That talks about that inner roommate and how to kind of get it in check. It's a great read.
Untethered Soul. Okay.
Yes, it's excellent. So that I was beating myself up left and right over that mistake, and yes, it cost us tens of thousands of dollars to correct. But I learned so much from it because I was headed down just a dangerous path in my head, and like self-doubt and fear, self-sabotage. I was just inflicting all of that on myself. And see, you can't even proofread a label, Deanna. How do you think you can be
Who the hell do you
successful
think
in
you
business?
are? Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Here you cost yourself. You're your own worst enemy. It was just blah 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 over and over in my head. And one day I pulled up a friend of mine has an Instagram site called What's Your Happy, and it's kind of an inspirational page. And she had a great idea. She was talking about self-sabotage, and she's like, okay, I want everyone to go find a picture of themselves when they were, between the ages of 4 and 8, when they were a little kid.
Okay.
She goes, here's mine. And she goes, look at that picture and think to yourself, think about how you talk to yourself in your head. Would you ever say those things to this precious child? No, you would not.
Right. That's a really good exercise.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff.
That's still you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say those things.
No.
You would try and build that person up and be positive. And that was pivotal for me. That was a veer. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right.
Because I learned that, what you tell yourself is what you become. And
that's true.
I felt like I was spiraling, it was just caused this whole, range of emotions that were just so unhealthy. So yes, I mean, I have learned the hard way in business, so many different lessons, but it's been so wonderful because all of these mistakes that have happened along the way have really prepared us all, as a company and moving forward, like to get to the big leagues. Because if we would have, been accepted into major retail, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we were not ready. And
right.
It would have been so costly, like the different mistakes that may have happened during that time, that we've all learned how to grow from this, and to accept responsibility. I'm like, yeah, I own it. That was me.
Yep.
I ultimately had the last say in the proof of that, and I own it. It's on me. So,
and it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We recalled them. We
fixed
it, and everything's okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of an instance of how,
you just have to, right. It's almost like you have to reprogram yourself to a new level of, I don't even know what it is. Like, I would say it's fearlessness, but that's not right. It's courage in the face of fear.
It is.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
on my wall in my office, a friend of mine made my motto for me. And my motto has, since that time, has become faith over fear.
That's awesome. That's perfect.
And I just have to have faith that, yes, I'm going to fail. I mean, I'm human.
You can have faith that you will fail.
That's exactly right. That's 100% accurate. I will fail.
That's
I will fail multiple times. Yes.
And it's okay. Hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's okay. Yeah, right.
It is okay. And you know what? I mean, how much stronger am I now after having gone through a lot of these things? And I thank the Lord every day for the toxic boss. Because I wouldn't be here without that experience. I would still be
that you needed
operating,
that little sort of nudge.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a huge nudge.
Maybe a push or a shove.
Yeah. I think I was shoved down to the ground and stepped on is what it was.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, sure. I've had this conversation many times actually. And one of my guests, I think it was Jim Palmer, he called them taps from God. So I love that. They start out as taps. They're very gentle. It's just like, hey, Jim, you might want to do this. Or, hey, Deanna, you might want to think about doing this. And then, he increases the volume and the velocity of said tap. Yeah,
right.
And they end up being slaps and knockdowns.
Yes.
And shoves. Yes. Right.
Well, every once in a while, we need a good slap across the face to get our attention. And I actually have a friend, a very close friend of mine she'll call me up and we'll start talking about something. And she's like, okay, you're in need of a slap, Deanna. I've got to slap you.
Nice. Nice. You need those people in your life.
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely.
That's why I have a lot of coaches, right?
Yes.
So on the show. And in my life, and I'm like, okay, so I figured out what a coach does. It's someone that you pay to tell you the truth that you don't want to hear.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And it's so valuable. It's like, all right,
how else are you going to grow?
Yeah, I can't tell when I'm being stupid. So I need you to help me with that.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and when you're in the middle of it all, it is sometimes hard to see, your stupidity.
It's not even that. I mean, it's just, especially when you're trying to tackle something so big and you're so new, like that label thing, right? I bet now you've got a really strong process to make sure.
Oh, yes, we do.
Right? And that's
there
why.
There are lots of people that sign off on that have to read every single word.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen.
But we wouldn't have that in place if it weren't for that mistake.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been a wild, wonderful, beautiful ride. And I feel like we're just beginning.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing great.
Yeah. We're traveling a lot, and hopefully, my goal all along has been, to improve the lives of women,
right.
And I've seen that happen. Just every single day, I get a phone call or a message, or the reviews on Amazon. Or these women are just evangelical about how their lives have improved because, it's a fact of life. Vaginal odor and imbalance can happen to anyone.
Right.
And matter of fact, 70% of women will have a vaginal issue at some point in their life. And for a lot of women, though, it's really debilitating. Of course, from an intimacy standpoint,
right.
But even exercise, just their daily lives are affected by this, and it's not a hygiene issue; it's an imbalance issue.
Right.
So, no matter how clean you are, and actually that can actually make it worse sometimes, is more soaps and such. But so it's really just helping improve the lives of women and doing it in a natural, safe way that is doctor recommended. We're fortunate to be on protocols of several large academic centers across the U.S.
That's impressive.
And and we have several, I'd say probably 60% of our customers come to us through a doctor's recommendation.
Wow.
So it's validating. And,
Right.
I get calls from physicians all the time who are like, you have changed the way we practice. It's your product has just helped so many patients. So it's
amazing.
It's what keeps me going every day, even if I have to recall 10,000 units from Amazon for a word misspelled.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I can understand like pushing through, and I guess it's like going in, you had that faith, not only from God, right? I mean, you had that, which is great, but I mean, these were validated by like, okay, you had the experience of 20 years working in pharmaceuticals, and then you had, just so happens a friend.
I know.
Right.
How crazy is
and
that?
then you have all those sales on Amazon. So it's like scarily like perfect, right?
Yeah. It's like everything was aligning.
Yes.
Like
right.
how it was, seriously, God was like, can you please wake up and see this?
It's almost like the solution picked you.
Yes.
Right.
It's so true. It's so true. And, it's also, necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
Like I had an issue, and that's why I developed the product. And I'm thinking, I'm not alone. I mean, you could go on the internet and see what a big issue this is. So yeah, you're right. It's like it created itself.
I had an idea because I've got an enlarged prostate, and I know a lot of dudes do too.
Yeah.
And there
very
are
common.
Tons of issues that go along with that.
Sure.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
Right. But again, it's a fact of life.
Right.
I mean,
right. I can tell a funny
happens.
story about this because I've been dying to tell this story and I can't. So now
this
I can.
Is perfect.
Right. We're here now and I can say this. So the first time I went and got diagnosed for, no kidding, having an enlarged prostate, the doctor said that he was like, okay, this is what you got to do. You can do this, and that. Try not to drink too much before you go to bed. All these like little like notes about how to deal with this situation, because there's not a whole lot of treatment until it gets really bad, right? And mine's like my symptoms are super minimal. Like when you look it up on WebMD, I have like lower than the lowest symptoms that they list, but they're still there. I'm dealing with it, but it's not.
And you're uncomfortable.
It's more embarrassing because it's like hard to empty my bladder. Right.
Right.
So I had to learn how to deal with that in like when I want to go to the bathroom in public, because I'm not done, and I thought I was done, so there's that. Right. But the moment that was real fun was my doctor said, oh, and by the way, you must ejaculate. And I'm like, can you write a prescription for that? And can you suggest some providers that might be able to help me out with it? So
I love it.
Yeah, I love that. He didn't give me a prescription and he didn't offer any providers, but he just kind of laughed. You like that?
I would love to see that written down on a prescription
Me
pad.
too. Me too. But
BID.
Anyway, that's good. I like that. So anyway, yeah. But the other thing was he suggested that I use this technique. I could get all medical, but basically I need to align my urethra.
So does yoga help with that? I mean, what do you do?
Well, it's more like just lifting the boys. That's all you're doing.
Okay, there you go.
That, strangely enough, helps, and it's relatively easy.
Oh, that's great. I love the specificity. I mean,
right?
That's awesome.
There's me being vulnerable and having laughs.
Yes.
Right? You can
vaginas, prostates,
Yay! Urethra. Ejaculate.
Parts are parts.
Right. Okay. Well, you are at PhDfemininehealth.com. And you were going to be going national at a national retailer in April. How amazing is that?
I know. Super excited.
Right? So how can folks best get in touch with you and connect and find out more about your product?
Yeah. So you can go to phdfemininehealth.com. There's a contact us link there.
Okay.
If you have any questions, also they're welcome to call our 800 number that's listed on the website.
Got it.
Which I can't recall right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm looking at it. It's 855-442-6466. Free same-day shipping in the U.S. for orders received by 2 p.m. CST.
Why, thank you very much, Jeff. I couldn't
just so happened I got it up. Yes. So there you go.
Oh, but yes, our products are available on our website, and they're also available right now through Amazon as well. So,
that's awesome. And in April, you'll be able to see them on the shelves.
That's right. And I will be announcing that.
And if you're listening to this show before April, which you probably will be, but come back in April and I'll link to that special link at the new place in April.
Awesome.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jeff.
This has been a blast, Deanna.
Yeah, I've had so much fun.
Did I say your name right?
This has been great.
I didn't screw it up.
Deanna. You're right.
Yay. Okay.
Yes.
Deeannah Seymour, PhDfemininehealth.com. Thank you for being vulnerable and playing the Vroom Vroom Veer game. It's fun,
I
right?
loved it. I had so much fun.
All right. Thank you. And you have a good one.
Thank you too, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.